Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Your Health is Your Choice, right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I am your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest today is Anna Orlinska. Well, you know, she had a wake-up call in her youth, a failed suicide attempt, but it was her redirection. She decided to choose life after that, and she decided to go towards a true holistic health, mind, body, and spirit. We're going to be doing two shows with Anna. One of them is her why story, what put her on this path, why it's so important for her to share what she is sharing. And then there's going to be the mentor show, what she offers you and how she can help you on your journey of life. It includes weight loss, but when we look at it, it's not always the weight that we carry on our bodies. It's the weight that we carry in our hearts and our souls and our spirits. How do we delete that and lighten ourselves up in order to immerse ourselves into life? Just this beautiful program called The Awakened You. And we are most certainly in that stage of life right now where it is about awakening. Life at the present moment is inviting us to wake up. It's shaken us up, it's woken us up, it's asked us to step up and change it up. And we can't change anything else that's going on in society until we change what's going on in our own lives. And I always say that somebody gets a nudge, a wink, or a cosmic 2x4 that is going to redirect them onto the path of their really true meaningful purpose. And for you, it was that attempted suicide. Welcome to the show, Anna.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me here today.
My pleasure. What led up to do attempted suicide? I know about despair. I know that feeling where you feel there is no other option. You can't see anything else other than just exiting. And it can be so consuming because there isn't any rationalization of it at the time.
No.
What took you to that point?
I would just, simple answer is pain. I was living in a lot of pain and trauma as well. Trauma was a big one. It was, my home situation was for the most part, I mean, I felt loved, I was loved, but there was more of that. There was something going on deeper, on a deeper level for me. Self-confidence. I was lucky and I wasn't primarily bullied at school. That was not my story. It was just a lot of internal pain and I didn't know what to do with it or how to move through it. And I just wanted a release. And I understand now that I just wanted an out. And for me at the time, with my knowledge and all the tools that I had, the only out that I saw at that time was a complete exit.
Yes.
And so I, again, attempted that, thankfully failed, very gratefully failed.
And most attempts are a failure, aren't they? They're a cry for help.
They are a cry, yes, yeah. And that's exactly, and I was blessed. I mean, I know I have angels and everything like that around me. A friend at that moment had gotten an intuitive hit to show up at my door, and she showed up at my door, and that was, part of the process of the failed attempt at that point.
How old were you?
It would have been around the middle school, So enter in, the hormones, enter in all that fun.
It's a horrible time, yeah.
It really is. And you have no idea what's going on, and it's just a whirlwind, and you always feel disconnected. You feel like nobody else understands you. It's a very tough time in general. Yes,
everything gets heightened, isn't it?
Everything does, right? And unless you have the know or the tools, and even at that age, it's who really does at that age, right?
Yes. I mean, who thinks at that age that you should have anything to worry you? Everybody assumes you're under the, parents' house, you've got food on the table, you're loved. So what have you got to worry about? But they don't realize the pressures of school, of not knowing who you are, where you're going, maybe some bullying, feeling lost and not identifying. It's a beautiful time. because you're in growth, but it's also a horrible time because you're in a bubble
Oh,
at
very much
school,
so.
aren't you? Of
Yeah. Yes.
expectation and
Yes.
popularity and everything else. And
So much pressure.
oh, and if
Immense
you're
pressure.
different,
Yeah. Oh yes, oh yeah. Then enter that. Come
yes,
on, if you're not willing to go with the flow, and that
right.
was another component to my journey. I was never willing to go with the flow, or to be, follow the status quo. So yeah, that alone brings its own challenges,
Yeah,
and the disconnect with your peers, and that rolls into disconnect with yourself and life and everything. So yeah, that was what led me up to that process. My mother, a single mother. She was also going through her own things, lots of depression, and so that's also a child's stability that
yes.
gets threatened. A child feels responsible. I felt a lot of responsibility to help her, even though what did I know at that age,
Right,
honestly, right?
right. Yes.
But the
And you also,
responsibility was,
you feel the responsibility. You also feel a certain amount of guilt. Why can't I
yes,
help mum?
right. Why can't I help? Or am I the cause? Am
Yes.
I, am what I feeling going to make it worse? I need to hide it. I need to protect. I can't open. Like, it's just
Yeah.
all these things that spiral
Right.
into it being too much and
Yeah.
overwhelming, and feeling like you don't have a place to go, or not knowing where to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Because
Another,
we don't address that in society.
not really.
You're going through the hormonal changes. There's these expectations of, grades, grades, grades.
Mm-hmm.
What is your future? You've got to have it mapped out. You've got to know where you're going. What's your goal? All that
Right.
pressure on you. And it's like, well, hang on. First, who am I?
Yeah. I haven't had enough experience to even know what I want, right?
Exactly. And so all these
Yeah.
expectations, I think, push people into a corner where they feel helpless.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically, it's a lack of identification of self, isn't it? Because if you're
Totally.
connected to self, then you know your purpose. But
Right.
how are you meant to know it as a child?
Right. And how do you even know? It's not common knowledge out there to connect to self, to self-love,
No.
especially at the teenage age.
Yes.
It's, it's more common, like all those groups that are out there, or mentors or focus groups that are out there, are all tailored more towards the adult
Yeah.
range, right? And
Yes.
so they don't even know, for the most part, that this is something that we need to all do and find, and the journey to getting there, right? And honoring yourself and loving yourself. That's
Self-love as a teenager?
right.
What are you talking about? I'm too fat. I'm too thin. I'm too tall. I'm too this.
Yes.
I'm not popular. I'm not this. Yeah.
Right.
It's just full of criticism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there are so many children that don't make it, that don't have somebody knocking at that door. There are so many youth suicides that could be prevented.
Oh, for sure.
Then of course, then the parents and then everybody else is thrown into guilt because why didn't I see this? And it's like, as a teenager, with the hormones, with the confusion, you feel like you're all alone and you can't talk to anyone.
Right. And they are masters of hiding and disguising.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And the world is against you, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's again, the guilt on the parents' part. Understand it. I would totally feel the same with my own two girls, but it's not the truth. It's not. It's right. So that's another side of the coin as well, for both parties. But yeah.
So you had this lovely cosmic 2x4 that woke
I
you up.
did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
And, obviously at first there is the shake-up of like, what did I do, or what was I about to do? And then going through that whole process. But were there any kind of like revelations or anything that kind of came to you at that time of like, this is the second chance? Or
there was, I mean, yes, I did have that, oh my goodness, what did I almost do? But the most prominent thing for me was, not only did my friend show up at the door, and not led because I had said something. I hadn't spoken to her all day. She came intuitively.
Right.
And then she actually called all the rest of my friends. And at the end of the day, I was sitting at a restaurant table with about 20 people who were there to support me. In that moment, I kind of woke up and, wow, there's a lot of people that actually care about me. And even, I think on some level, I didn't fully get it then, but on some level I did understand that cosmically I had support as well. Because I know my guides or whomever intervened and made her show up at my door. And so seeing that and feeling that immense sense of love, kind of opened my eyes to at least admitting to myself that maybe I was missing something. Maybe I wasn't open to fully seeing something. Not that I, in that moment, had that answer, but I was just open to seeing that there was more. And then from there, and it may, I mean, sometimes I joke with myself that it sounds a little grim, but my drive became, well, I know that I can't exit this world, that I'm here, that is not a possibility.
Gotta face it.
I gotta face it. It's not going to happen. I can't do it. So I have two choices. I can either choose to continue on living miserably, or I can choose to find whatever I need to do to move through it and move and live a happy life.
Right.
Those are my two options that I laid out in front of me. And if I am leading a healthy life and I'm going to live 90, I don't know about most of you, but I want to do it happy, not miserable.
Oh God, 90 years of misery? Come on. Right? Who needs that?
Yeah, exactly. So it was from then that I decided, to choose love, to choose happiness, to choose that path, whatever it entailed, and to never settle and to just keep moving in that direction. And was it linear? Did I succeed in every moment? No, I still had more 2x4s to come later on through my life.
That's what doing life. Yes. Oh God, I've got a headache from all of mine. Yes. You know, they come up with a little nudge and a little tap. No, this way, and we insist on going the other way, and it's wackaroo that way.
Okay. You weren't listening the first couple times, so make sure you listen now.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but that drive to keep in the happiness side of things and the love side of things is what always moved me through it, as opposed to getting stuck in it, which are two totally different things, right? So
well, you talk of your mom's depression, single mom raising a kid, failed marriage, and probably never had a chance in her own life to do her own self-discovery.
No, not at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
And then of course, depression sometimes is that feeling of despair, of hopelessness, and sometimes it's a fear, sometimes it's a chemical imbalance in the body, and sometimes it can be all of it.
Right. Yes.
And so, it doesn't mean that sadness and depression go away. It just means that when you look at it, you face it more, you recognize it. And now it's like, instead of looking to press delete, you're looking to find a solution to it.
Right. Yes. And the first step is, accepting that it's there, and not from a place of, I'm going to live in the despair of it. But this is a part of me, how can I love it and live my life loving it and working with it?
Yes.
And so that again, that comes back to the self-love, the self-acceptance, and moving through it as opposed to pushing against it. Right.
Would you call yourself an empath?
Yes.
So as an empath, you're going to pick up all sorts of things that have got nothing to do with you.
Oh, yes. That was another component I know that triggered me way back when.
And it's like, why the hell am I feeling like this? And and it's just like there's a frequency out there that's a wave that comes over you, and sometimes you cannot identify with it. No. And it's like sometimes you just literally have to let the feeling go, or force yourself to do something that that will change your frequency.
Yes. Yeah. And learning, first, I mean, as a kid, even back then, everybody gravitated to her. I was the person that everybody came to and spoke to, and even random people in the grocery stores, all of a sudden I had their life story, and all I said was, hi.
I've been there, done that, so that was unexpectedly. It's a wonderful gift, but at the same time, it's like, but that's intuitively trusting your knowingness. Did you find that in that moment when that person picked you, and that's because they were on that frequency, that you had answers for them that you didn't even know you had?
Oh, very much.
Yeah.
And that happens often. And at first I would question, and now I know what it is. So I'm open and I run with it.
Receive.
I would just receive and give it.
Yes.
I even have it, I get downloads with clients. So
Yes.
even if I'm not with them, I'll
Mm-hmm.
get a download that something needs to be communicated. And if I don't, I get pestered quite
Yes.
from them until I do.
2-4, 2-4.
Right? Yes, you need to. Yeah. So just my clients know, and so it's like, I got something for you.
Yeah.
Do with it what you will. Now it's your responsibility.
Right.
But here is the message, and then they're nice and quiet after
Yes.
I do that.
But that's the thing is, as an empath and as a channeler and a knowingness person, is that you are going to get knowledge at any bizarre time.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And, it is trusting it because, it comes from the soul and it goes to the heart in resonance, and the spirit is the action, and the mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it.
Right.
And if we step out of our way and just allow, don't question it, don't dissect it, don't analyze it, just let it be. It may not make sense to you. And even to the person you're speaking to in that moment, it may not. But it will sit there and reveal itself down the road. So, we're always looking for the comma and the full stop and the T and the I and all of that. Sometimes just let the knowledge be and let it sit where it needs to sit. And don't be so dictatorial on how it should be.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So it's, like you said, beautiful gift, but there is that process of learning your own boundaries and learning how to keep yourself strong and to clear and ground and all those. So you're not carrying literally the weight of the world.
Yes, which is very, very easy to do. Now, for me, it was a challenge. I would take everything on and then find myself weighted down and gaining weight, because that brought the anxiety. Everything goes part and parcel with it. And, just feeling kind of sad all the time, and it'd be, well, what's wrong with you? And it's like, I don't know how to get rid of this sadness. I'm gaining weight, but I'm eating the same. And it's everything that gets piled on. So knowing our boundaries, if we are intuitive in any way, actually, to know our boundaries is essential to our own well-beingness. Because we can't help someone else if we're depleted.
No, it's that airplane analogy with the airbag. Same thing, right? You can't. Where are you going to pull that from, right?
Yeah.
And another thing I found for myself that's helped drastically is having a as constant as I can keep it routine that clears and grounds. And so it doesn't matter, even if I've had 10 clients, I will do this consistently, whether I have none or 10 or my kids are having a bad day. It keeps that constant, and you have a better foundation for just keeping it consistent and yourself safe, right? With all the energy.
So it's finding that path of a meaningful purpose, because that's what I think what drives all of us is when we're in purpose. Right?
Yes.
Being open to allowing that knowingness, knowing our boundaries, and not taking the weight, physical and emotionally, upon the world, and knowing where those boundaries are. And it is not something that just like, well, just go and do it. You've done it. You've found a process. You found something that works, which is now what you share with other people. And it's not kind of by numbers. Now you must do this and now you must do that. So you're intuitively working with the people on seeing what they need, because you know what they need to do, but how they need to do it is very much what's there in the moment.
Oh, definitely. And everybody's journey is different. And part of what I do is everybody has the intuitive piece. Right? Kids are super in tuned, but over the years, our life experience, our belief systems, we kind of lose in our touch with that.
Our connection.
Our connection, right? And so part of my journey and the journey that I want others to have is to come back to that intuitive piece. Because even as a coach, as a trainer, as a nutritionist, I can give you pieces that can help, but you are the true person that knows what you need. And you are being told through your body, through your guides, through your energy constantly what it is you need to be healthy, because your spirit, everything, every bit of you wants that health.
Yeah.
But we've lost the ability to hear it, or we question, or ego gets in the way. So it's which is totally another side of things. And so, yeah, it's clearing all the clutter, so to speak, and being able to hear those messages again and trusting them and following.
Let's talk about that 3-letter word,
Oh,
ego.
the ego.
We all have it. It's a human condition.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And very often it's derived by that expectation again. You know, I've got to be, in order to be popular, to be successful, to be loved, I've got to be this status quo. And then there is that whole thing of, once you've stepped into that, realizing a little bit. I always say, I used to have a company called The Importance of You.
Right. Yes.
Which is very different to self-importance.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Because self-importance is derived by that ego, which is also derived by the insecurity.
Right.
So that word ego, I prefer to call it self-pride when you've reached a certain level.
Yeah.
But that word ego can really take you off on a tangent.
Oh, for sure.
That just throws you for a spin, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And actually, I read a book years ago from Gabby Bernstein, and for life of me, I can't remember the title right now, but in her book, she mentioned that there's only 2 things that drive us in this world. It's fear and love. Ego is based in fear. Your spirit is based in love. And so, yeah, so ego, when you're following that, it's all fear-based and it's all resistance-based. And so learning to recognize it, and again, because self-love is loving every part of you, so including that ego.
Yes.
So in my journey, how I changed my focus on it was, okay, here's this ego piece. It in itself is like this rogue entity, let's say, that is trying to keep me safe. Its intention is actually trying to keep me safe. It can go a little buck wild sometimes. It can go a little too far extreme. But if I recognize that its intention is strictly to keep me safe, I can approach it in love and recognize that, okay, hey, I see this coming up. You know, you're a little wrong. I can see this more in love, the love side of things. Thanks for protecting me or trying to, but we're going to try it this way.
Yeah.
Kind of approach. And that way you're not, because fighting against ego is not going to propel you forward either. It's again that resistance piece as well, right? And it's actually going to just increase the ego's voice.
Right, which can lead very much to narcissism.
Right, yes.
And you can't help a narcissist until they realize they're a narcissist, which very often they do not recognize that, because with a narcissist, it's everybody else's problem, not theirs.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So
and that really comes from a forgotten child, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So the awareness and the openness I think are 2 big components as well to self-growth and self-healing and moving forward in your journey. And
when you're working with your clients, do you find there's a common denominator? Like, I found for the years that there's always a lost child. Neglected, lost, abused, whatever child in there. And it doesn't matter if the parents were loving, just a child that didn't connect, felt alone and hasn't yet come to terms with that child in order to be able to move forward.
Yeah.
Do you find that, or the other thing is how the child likes to please everybody? That's where they go into that expectation of doing everything for everyone else to try and be popular,
right?
At the expense of self.
Yes. Yeah. And those 2 are big common themes. And if you look at it, again, coming from the strictly fear, love based, like just having those 2, we always want love. And this is what we're constantly searching for. Right. And as children, we develop these beliefs and they become layers to our reality. And so whatever that child had taken in as the reality from what happened on the external is exactly how they're going to perceive that reality is for them and how it's going to show up in their everyday. And again, like you said, even the most loved child, white picket fence, had a wonderful family, there is still going to be some level of them feeling that they weren't loved. And
Yeah.
that's just, it's again comes down to true love comes from self-love,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so they were never meant to get 100% from their parents or
Right.
100% from something external. It's all meant to be internal.
Yeah.
But again, it's not something that's predominantly taught out
No.
there, right?
No.
Or that we would know as children,
Yes.
or that even parents know to pass along to their
Right.
children. So yeah, those definitely are big common themes within my client, and it all comes back down to the self-love piece
Yeah.
and finding those puzzles and healing them.
I mean, for the older generation like me, self-love was like, who do you think you are? Right?
Right?
Egotistical, what do you mean self-love? What do you mean
Self.
you want to find yourself,
Yes.
and it was criticized a great deal. And,
Mm-hmm.
that permission to be who you
Yeah.
are or discover who you are was also woo-woo,
Right.
and
Yes.
so, but now it's really become the emphasis. It's
Mm-hmm.
become the kind of the poster out there, is that you can't succeed in anything you do until you succeed in being you.
Right. Yes. Until you honor that and love yourself. And for definitely. And it's amazing that the movement is going in
Yeah.
that direction.
Thank God.
We're
Thank
still
God.
kind of new in it, but it's wonderful to see that that's where we're headed now on the whole. So
Yeah, I mean, I do an awful lot of business shows, and the absolute delight to see is business people talking about the heart of things. What is the core of the business? Where's the heart and soul of it?
right. Yes.
How can they reflect the passion that they
Right.
have? That it's not all about the dollar, the six figure. It's about
No.
the service,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And also that, the service to their clientele, the service to their workers,
Mm-hmm.
and being a place that is represented by heart. And it's
Yes.
wonderful to see that now. And I had somebody on that didn't want to use the word heart. He calls it source, right?
Right.
Because some companies are still unhappy with that. And my very
Right.
next show was somebody else doing the same thing, talking about heart and soul and spirit. So it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter what the dialogue is, it's what you're
No.
comfortable with. But we are seeing that move forward. So I think that this permission to be awakened
Mm-hmm.
is definitely there. It's on the neon signs everywhere. And
Yeah.
it's really, you can't help anyone until they're willing to help themselves.
No.
But when they are
Mm.
in that self-discovery,
Yeah.
now you can show them that path of where they can go.
Yeah, and it's such a beautiful gift to be able to help people that way and to see their aha moments and
Yes.
falling in love with themselves. It's such a it makes me so
Yeah.
excited and inspired, and even for me gives me the gift of
Mm.
continuing to do the work that I do personally for my kids, for everybody, right? So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful
Well, they're
journey.
your
And
orchestra, they're stepping
yep.
into their harmony. And
Yes.
so they become
Yeah.
part of that orchestra, and that just resonates out to other
Oh
people as
yes.
an invitation, right? So,
Yeah.
the more people step into self-love, meaningful purpose, compassionate service,
Mm-hmm.
the better this world is, because it literally raises that frequency
Right.
up to a higher
Yes.
level.
Yeah.
And we have a better understanding of what life is about
Mm-hmm.
and what we're really here to do. But
Right.
you can't tell that to someone who's still there,
No.
on that, trapped in that level. They've
Yeah.
got to be willing to go through the process. There's no quick app,
No.
no 6-day program and you're going to be this and that. No, no,
Nope. Nope.
no. And it's a question of how much you're willing to participate in your own
Right.
life.
Right. And recognize that it's a lifelong journey, and you're right, there isn't a 6-day process. I mean, I've been doing my internal work since middle school when that
Mm.
day happened for me, and I'm still growing and I'm
Yes.
still going through it, and I'm still sometimes getting hit by
Yes.
2x4s
Yes.
myself. But I see it as just another opportunity to raise my vibration to the
Mm.
next level. And I'm excited about that and honored about that. And I translate that again to the people I care about and to the world, right?
Mm.
So it's the lifelong journey process is one that's sometimes a tough, hard pill for me to swallow. And I definitely recognize that for clients as well. They, you kind of wish there was a light switch that, okay, we're all done now.
Yeah.
We're all good. We've learned every lesson.
But life is about the journey.
It is
And the
about
journey is only over
yes.
when we say goodbye.
Right. Yes.
Right. And then our essence of everything we've learned goes on.
Right. Yes.
Right. And so, I've always say to people, don't put off in this lifetime what you're going to only relive in the next.
Well, that's also been another motivating factor for me.
I don't want to repeat this, thank you.
If I don't do it now, I'm going to come back here and have to do it all over again. So let's just get it done now.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So no, clear it all up now, folks. Clear it all up now.
We've got the opportunity to take it. Right? Yeah.
How have you found, with your mom and with your kids, the change in you? Because obviously that ripples out to them, the joy of what you do and who you are, that ripples out to them. That doesn't mean they're not going to go through their own tribulations, but how have you found that has changed the relationship for them with themselves?
Well, it's interesting because my mom is now a client. So we often joke the teacher has now become the student.
Yes.
But she gave me the opportunity to do the growth work and the tools that I needed to get to where I'm at. And so the relationship between her and I is beautiful. And my journey has opened her eyes to knowing that she could have that as well. And of course, as a daughter, that's all I want my mom to be happy, right? Exactly. And so to be able to share that with her is such a gift for me. And seeing her growth and her change is beautiful as well. My daughters, I mean, they're 9 and 11, and as I
enter the twilight zone.
Oh yes. Fingers crossed, some of the tools that I have taught them, and maybe through osmosis we can get through it a little easier than some. Yes. But again, open to, I'm excited for their journey because, like I said before, it gives, whatever they go through gives me the opportunity to elevate as well. And because I have the tools that I do, I at the very least can plant seeds for them. So they may not, again, as teenagers, it's harder for them to hear, I find.
Yes.
But the seeds will be there, right? And my mom, even when I was a child, even where she was at, planted seeds that bloomed into beautiful flowers that just kind of had wake up calls when I was, but I remember her saying that all those years ago. I couldn't hear it, but when it was ready to be heard and my brain was ready to accept it, flourished and helped me and guided me to where I'm at today. And so to be able to do that for my children, fingers crossed, would be, a beautiful gift for me and hopefully for them as well as they grow up. And
I brought my children up to know boundaries, and that if you're willing to walk that tightrope, be willing to fall. Right. Whatever the consequences are, that you're going to pay for those consequences.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they always pushed the edge, pushed the limits, and sometimes they fell. While they were still under my roof, I can say, you stupid idiot, and still love them.
Right. Right.
Because I could be mad at them, but they never knew that didn't mean I didn't love them. I never put those two things together.
Yeah.
And, my son has said to me that he was walking a path that was not a good path, and it was me, my face, my love for him that changed his direction.
Right. Yeah.
And we weren't actually talking at that point because I couldn't condone the path he was on. I love you, but I can't support this path. And to this day we have a really tight bond. We clash all the time because we're both saying the same thing in different language.
Right. Yes.
But we clash because we're so much alike in that way. But you have to kind of let them go and hope that the seeding and the knowledge there. But the most thing is they could come and talk to me.
Right.
Yes, I can get mad at the stupidity of it.
Yeah.
But that didn't mean I didn't love you and I wasn't there for you.
Right. Yeah. Right? And that having that, I think for children goes a long way, that knowing whether or not they use it is irrelevant, but the fact that they know that is always there.
Yes.
I think is a big piece for even for their own journey and finding
Yeah.
self-love, right?
I mean, it's that judgment that parents put on children as, well, I can't love you if you do this. Never bring that love and discipline into the same language.
No.
I cannot condone that action, right?
Yeah.
But I still love you, and I'm going to help you through it if you work with me.
Right.
But sometimes it is their journey to go through it on their own, and they'll come to you when they're ready. That's the hardest thing. I'm sorry, darling. It's the hardest thing as they go through.
Again, like I said, I know when that moment comes that, but then again, that'll give me a moment to elevate myself, right? And not fall victim to that life event, even though I know there'll be a lot of pain involved with, going through that kind of piece. So,
and I know what you went through because my son went through it with me. I developed fibromyalgia 23 years ago, and a lot of that has depression attached to it. It's clinical. And I would go through these depression waves of despair. I finally found the right medication, and I'm okay now. But he would want to fix me.
Yes.
And I kept saying, darling, please stop. Because every time you're trying to fix me, you make me feel broken.
Right.
Instead, just hug me. Just love me and understand that is medicine.
Right.
And when he finally got that, he go, okay. And it took the burden off him to try and fix me, and to understand that just loving me was the fuel I needed.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Love will always be the answer for everything. Always. Right.
And for the kids to know, I mean, my kids always knew what I was going through because we had a round table, we believed in open conversation.
Right. Yes.
Right. But there's still a lot. My kids now, they're in their 30s, and we recently had some time together. And it was like, you don't know the half of it. And I said, probably best I know.
That you don't,
right? But, they pushed themselves to the edge many times, but always managed to come back. And that's all we can do as parents, is give them the skills and the tools to be able to come back or to ask for help.
Right.
To make that connection within. And that's all we can do, because we're here as custodians, and it's to raise them, to let them go, to be the best they can be.
Right. Yes. And even creating that understanding that, again, I go back to the self-love piece. When you're an adult, that foundation comes from the universe, right?
Yes.
So knowing that you always have a home to return to, you always have that love from a higher source to return to. I believe that the kids' version of that is their parents, where they start to learn that understanding, and then can take that piece, and when they're older, translate that into, the loving self and the higher purpose and the universal love that's always there, like their parents were there, right? That foundational piece. So
every generation is about evolving into a higher plane.
Yes.
And never ever in the time of history have we had so many people trying to evolve at the same time.
Right.
And with the crises that are out there right now, they've united us. While certain amounts of humanity are still trying to divide us.
Right.
But what it's done is it's pushed that consciousness up to the surface. And saying, we're going to right those wrongs by simply not accepting the wrongs anymore. We're going to do it in unison. We're going to do it with love. And we're going to make those changes, because we're always pointing the finger at establishments to change.
Right.
And historically, it will tell you, establishments don't change until the people demand they change.
Yes, right.
So we've got to be the example.
Yeah.
So if you're not liking something in your life, then you've got to be the change that you see.
Yes. It's take the responsibility, right? And work from within. And everything, all change comes in and then outward.
Yes, there is no outside in. It's all in inside.
No, it's always inside out.
Yes.
The journey to the true change and even true health and all of that comes inside out. First is the first piece to that.
Well, in the second show, we're going to be talking a lot more about your program and exactly this inside out program, and the weight of everything, including weight loss and losing the weight of burdens and everything else. I love it when people embrace their redirect. because it puts them on their path to their meaningful purpose.
Right.
It's
Yes.
your orchestra that you're creating.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful to see. And really, when it comes down to it, we're all seeking a purpose. What am I here for?
Right.
What am I here to do? What have I got to give? It's not about what have I got to get,
No.
which has been taught to us for so long.
Right.
It's about what am I here to give? Because you receive so much more from giving, don't you?
Oh, for sure. It definitely comes full circle. And we all have, that's the other part, is we all have our unique gift and our unique talent and what we are here and meant to do. And even if some of us are similar, there's enough to go around.
Yeah.
And I may be, coaching something that someone else is doing similarly, but my voice is going to be heard by the people that need to hear it from me and them for them. And if we work in harmony, it's not going to clash, and there's no resistance to it, and there's no you get more than I get. We all work in harmony. So to be able to honor that journey within ourselves, and again, know that it's coming from a safe, loving place. We are all meant to live in abundance and live in our purpose and find that and joy and happiness. And right, the more we honor that, the more the whole world can on a global level. And it's exciting.
There are millions of love songs.
Yes.
And
yes, there are.
you're not going to tune into every one of them, but there's going to be a few of them that just hit you.
That hit you,
right? They're your frequency.
Yes.
So, your frequency is going to resonate with people that are open to that frequency.
Yes.
And so it's not a one size that fits all. It's not one person that's going to solve everyone's problem.
No.
You're there at that frequency, and you may only be able to take them up to a certain level, and now they're ready to go off on a different frequency.
Right. Yes.
And I'm a podcaster. There are 999 other 100,000 out there of them. But this is my voice, right? And my style, and somebody else has theirs. And I think when people start looking at competing with one another,
right,
and look at collaborating and sharing and supporting, we're going to be a much better village, aren't we?
Oh, much. And there's going to be more than enough to go around, right? And it's, going into collaboration as opposed to competition will bring, we'll bring that about and essentially help more people and through their journey and growth and all of that, right? So
you opened up and took your discovery, and you have learned that this is your meaningful purpose, is to help other people in their own self-discovery and make that connection and tune in and listen to the universe, because the soul doesn't know how to lie.
Nope.
And when the heart connects with that truth, that is an absolute, and our spirit knows what to do with that truth. It's our mind that's constantly the thing that's in the way. And it's how to listen, have the mind in unison with the, whether they call it divine or source or universe or whatever energy. For you personally, take business aside and everything else, for you personally as a person and who you've become because of this journey today, what can you share about that?
That the journey that I've chosen and the intention that I chose all those years ago, it has brought so much joy and fun and happiness into my life. And I know on some levels it's just beginning. And the more that I open up to it, and the more that I connect, and the more that I release the fear and all the stress and the trauma that has occurred, and step into my truth and step into my light, the more amazing things are happening into my life. With regards to relationships, with my career, with my relationships with my children, with my own energy levels, with my own physical, all of that, it's all improving and growing as my connection does, as I become more open to the universe and all that side of things. And it's that I want to give to others as well, and of course increase in my own life and continue that path of that. So it's been amazing. Even the hard stuff, it's all been amazing, And I'm proud. I'm proud that I chose to see it in light instead of choosing the path of, fear.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Oh, believe me, folks, love is so much better.
so much, so much. Again, not always linear, and not to say that I'm always perfect at choosing love over fear, but in the big picture, that's what I always choose, right? And,
well, you recognize what the fear is.
Oh, yes.
And most of the time, fear is just simply a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
So if you educate yourself over the situation, we go, well, that? I don't need to be afraid of that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's educate. Read or delve or ask the universe. What is this fear derived? Is it a fear of walking in front of a bus and not being hit? Well, that's a valid fear.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
But is it a fear of making a choice? Sometimes that fear is to say, well, the fear will be released when it's the right choice.
Yes. Yeah.
So seek the right choice.
Yeah. Yes. And part of what I do to help others is recognizing, because there still can be, even if it is the right choice, there still can be that little bit of fear attached to it.
Yeah.
But it's coming from an inspired place as opposed to a completely fear-based place. And there is a difference. And so learning to recognize what that difference is. For example, for me, doing these podcasts and going on video, there's a level that terrifies me. I was a shy child, and anything to do with a camera or video. Oh, well, thank you. See? But I can recognize that, okay, the fear's there. It's not real. I'm just going to go and I'm going to be myself. But it's an inspired, excited place because I get to share my story as well. So there's, being able to honor the truth within yourself, even if the ego or the fear is still kind of pecking a little bit at the door back there, right?
Yeah. It's not about eliminating fear altogether, because fear is a driver.
Yes.
Right. So it's just like, where is it driving you? You don't want it driving you down the wrong road.
No. And it's, if again, I remember when I first heard this saying, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I had a lot of resistance to it.
Yes.
But now that I've honored that, it's like I get excited when I feel uncomfortable, because I know that it's that next level for me. And soon that uncomfortable will become comfortable, just so I can find something else that's a little more uncomfortable and keep going.
Well, it's looking at something instead of worrying about what the unknown is. The unknown, the unknown's so scary. Instead of looking at it again, oh, what's around the corner, and getting excited about it. So changing our energy on our journey, isn't it? Instead of being, oh, what's around the corner, going, oh, what's around the corner?
There's a big difference.
There's a very big difference.
There's a big difference. And one will motivate you and the other will stop you. So cripple you. Yes.
Definitely. So we have to face those fears and understand what they're there. And sometimes they are propelling forward, and they're just, a discovery. And then sometimes there's a valid reason. If you keep feeling the fear over something, then, for me, I know, okay, it's telling me that, no, this is the wrong road.
Right.
And so I've got to stop pursuing this road because the fear keeps coming up. I've got to change direction, even though I could have sworn that was the right road because the head said so.
Right.
But when the heart and the soul and the spirit's all entwined and has its own intellect and its own voice, then it will direct you down the right road. But, very often, this little noggin on the top of our legs, like to talk us out of sensibility.
Yes, right? Yes, And recognizing that and being able to choose the right, or the spirit, the light, heart, soul path, right?
Yes.
And even sometimes maybe that first path was the correct path. However, you need to get a few steps in before that is. So honoring that, okay, I'd like to get there. Cool.
But you're in the wrong vehicle.
I'm in the wrong vehicle. I'm not, that's not where I'm at now. I'm going to honor where I'm at now and follow that path. But I know
it'll eventually lead.
It will get there. And releasing that expectation and all those feelings that come, disappointment that comes with, oh, I'm not going there right now. Right.
Stop looking for the quick fix too.
Right. Yes.
No downloadable app, no program on the Android.
No, there's no switch, there's no pill, there's no, right. It's just, it's the journey.
It's participation in your own life. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to go over to the other show in a moment, which I invite people to go to, where we're going to be talking about your program and exactly what it is that you offer your clients and in what way. And so hopefully we've invited people, inspired people so much that they want to go over and know exactly what you do. But for the people that may not go over straight away, please give your information, like your site and how people can get hold of you.
My website is awakenedyou.ca, so awakenedYou.ca. The site is under construction. It's not built up quite yet, but there is an invite. I do offer a free breakthrough session, so you can sign up for it there. And we just go in, we just have an organic conversation for an hour, and I kind of unload or uncover what blocks you may be having to your health path. And what you can do to move through those through that session. I've also have a Facebook page and a Facebook group, which is just, I wanted to create a community of approaching health and weight loss and fitness from a happiness inspired, soul loving process, as opposed to, you know, you have to trudge through it and work hard and have all the resistance. You just have to, I just have to do it. Because it's not meant to be a resistance path. It's meant to be something you want to do and something you feel inspired to do. Something, you know, my kids will run for an hour straight, right? Because they want to and they feel inspired to do. And that's how we're meant to approach, you know, physical activity and health and fitness. We've just created blocks along the way to reaching that. So through the Facebook group, I just wanted to create a community and a community of support and tips and tools and those kinds of things. And so that, I believe I honestly just created it. So the exact name.
I can tell you. I have it right here.
I should know my own stuff.
Yes, no. And the glasses have to go on, because sorry.
Yes, yeah.
So it is the Awakened You. Facebook. So if they put that in, it will come up definitely. And of course, LinkedIn and Awakened You, and Instagram. Anna at Awakened You.
Yes, yeah. So the Facebook group, if you go, because Awakened You is my Facebook page, if you go to the Facebook page, there'll be an invite for the group as well there. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
So as I said in our next show with the mentors, because she's joining us as a mentor here, which I'm very delighted to have you here. We're going to be talking about exactly your program and what it is you offer and how you offer it and all of that. So invite people over. Of course, if they have listened to the mentor show first, and then come back here and listen to the why.
You dive into the why.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which way you go. It's all going to be in the flow, right?
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Anna, for sharing here. And I always love it when people embrace that redirect and step into the meaningful purpose and that wonderful fluidity of life that you're embracing and sharing, because that is what it's all about. So thank you so much for being you.
Thank you. And likewise, because you were doing the same for everybody else.
Yes, it took me a much longer time. Much longer. Please, folks, don't do it the way I did it. You know, there's a faster track. Ask Anna.
Oh, thank you. We all have our own journey and a reason for it. But
yes. You don't want to get my age to find out, folks. Please, folks. Younger. You can do it anytime, but try and do it younger, right? So we're going to switch over to the other show now, and you know, folks, please listen to what she has to say and what she's offering you. You've heard her, you've connected, you feel her, and now see what she has to offer you so that she can help you on your journey of life, waking up you in your heart, your soul, and your spirit to be all that you are meant to be. Because the more we become our beautiful selves, the more we become a solution to the planet. So thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Sarah.
And until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.